Welcome, Sri Harsha. Welcome, Komal. Thank you for joining in. So as discussed today, it's all about Union Budget 2022, and we're here to do an analysis of the same. So to get things started, Komal, I'd like you to tell us what were we expecting in terms of today's budget.
Thank you, Renaud, for this. So after a COVID hit economy, all of us had an eye on how we want this economy to, revive. And there were a lot of expectations from the FM that, she would come up with a lot of other initiatives so that the economy would be able to, breathe again. So in terms of agriculture, we were expecting that there would be a lot more agricultural reforms wherein it would pave way to many agriculturists and also the companies who have, a lot of, agriculture transactions for startups, because there's a wave of startup happening here in the economy these days, and MSMEs. We wanted to have a lot of access to credit given to such companies because in the near future, these are the companies, these are the startups which are going to grow. So there was a lot of expectations which we wanted them to address it in periodically, and also because there's a lot of compliances happening in every sector, whether it's for the companies, whether it's for the direct taxes or indirect taxes. So we wanted a minimum government inclusion in this and a lot of maximum governance so that we can have less of compliances burdens. And we also wanted to know, because a lot of word going on under cryptocurrencies, we had many people coming to us and asking us whether how do we go ahead with such transactions, how do we have the taxation. There's a lot of air was going on around. The bubble is we wanted to get it addressed, solved, and which has actually also happened. So a lot of the government which have contracts and government procurements, so we wanted to know if those are happening on time, whether how it can be dealt with. So there were a lot of expectations from the MSMEs, startups, and all the various industries, and which I understand that to some level it has also been answered. To some level, a lot of disappointments also is there.
Okay, Komal, thank you for giving a summary of that. Now moving on, Mr. Harsha, can you give us an overview of today's budget?
Yes, Renai. So budget was presented approximately 3 hours before by the Finance Minister. We have gone through all the documents. Usually commenting immediately will be very difficult. But having said that, the first comments will always be only in terms of whatever has been given as benefits, because always budget speech hides more than what it reveals. So we are commenting on the basis of budget speech, and we are commenting on the basis of initial documents which are released by the ministry. Over a period of time, notifications will come into the place. Over a period of time, detailed tax provisions will be released. That is when we will realize what are all the restrictive provisions which are there. But having said that, today, a broad number which I need to say is like, a 9% growth, 9+% growth is expected for the coming year, which is very good, which in terms of if I need to place it in context, out of the top developing countries, we will be having the highest growth. Among the developing countries, we will be having the highest growth. That is one significant number which we can take note of. Then second, what I can mention is fiscal deficit. So usually, always government in developing countries, governments will spend more than what they earn. And they cannot, usually whatever they spend more, they usually take it in the form of debt and then they will spend, right? But there is a Fiscal Discipline Act in India, which was passed in 2003, which says you cannot borrow for more than 2% to 3% of your total GDP, total value of goods produced in the country, total GDP, you cannot borrow for more than 2% to 3%. But it was never achieved. The act was passed in 2003. We are in almost 2022 now. Till date, it was never achieved. Even for this year, the deficit will be 6.9%, which is close to 7%, even for the upcoming year as well. So deficit is going to be huge. Other than that, sector-specific reforms, not too many tax reforms, except for cryptocurrencies and all. There are not too many tax reforms. And focus continued to remain on infrastructure, because right from the 2014 budget, every budget is focusing on the infrastructure. Its focus continues to be remaining on the infrastructure. One important point, till last budget, always finance minister used to say 2025 $5 trillion economy, and people started tracking it very closely everywhere, like, media points, everybody has highlighted, people remember it so closely. Okay, 2025 is just 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line. Now what's the status? So that way she changed the goal altogether this time. She said, okay, we'll put a goal for 25 years. We'll not track for 5 years. If I give a number for 5 years, people will question me, but let me give a number for 25 years. Now they are following, now they are targeting for India at 100. Today, India is at 75 years of independence. Now she is establishing the goals and she is moving towards India at 100. So the goals are the macroeconomic goals which are set by this particular budget are achievable, or this picture is being laid, or this foundation is being laid for visualizing the India at 100. So that is what I can say. The goal has been shifted to India at 100 instead of the 2025 $5 trillion economy. She nowhere, the last year budgets and all, she used to repeatedly say India at $5 trillion, India at $5 trillion. But I think everybody realized, it is not going to be possible, especially because India at $5 trillion would have been possible only with agriculture reforms. Now, as Komal said, though a lot of agriculture reforms were expected, there is no significant substantial change in the agriculture sector, even with this budget too. The reason being, the next 5 state elections are upcoming. In the next 3 to 4 months, we'll have elections in 5 states. If government touches agriculture, already it burnt hands in the past 1 year. So they didn't touch agriculture at all. It is all just overall reforms, but further, there is no significant structural reforms in agriculture too. So these are my comments. But in detail, we'll discuss over the next 30 minutes of time, in detail, specific to each sector and then specific to taxation as well.
Sure. Thank you, Harsha. To all our viewers, if you have any questions, please do enter them in the chat and we will have them addressed by each of our speakers. Now, having said that, let's move on to the next phase of this. So, Komal, we just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Harsha briefly talked about various structures, various sectors when he was presenting the overview of the budget 2022. So, Komal, let's talk specifically about infrastructure. What can you tell us in terms of that sector?
Yeah. So as Harsha already mentioned about India at 100, so for the next 25 years, which is basically, it's a part of that Amrit Kal initiative, which FM and the Indian government had actually, started. So in that way, we have this PM Gati Shakti. This is something which we are going to hear quite a while from now on. It's the PM Gati Shakti is nothing but it's a transformative approach for the economic growth and sustainable development. So basically, this PM Gati Shakti, concentrates on 7 engines. They are all, you have roads, railways, airports, all the 7 ports, transport, waterways, and infrastructure. So all the 7 engines, the PM Gati Shakti actually concentrates on, and it is going to encompass all these, 7 engines, and it is going to drive the economy for a developed place to live in. And in view of this PM Gati Shakti, the very peculiar initiative which FM has had actually today mentioned was for the northeastern states. So there is going to be a plan called as PM Development Northeastern Development Plan, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Which is going to concentrate for the benefit of the northeastern states. Funds of around 1,500 crore has been earmarked for such for this northeastern drive, and it is going to help the company, or not just the companies, help the people there for a better economy, and also the center has allocated 50-year interest-free loans for the state government to drive the infrastructure sector in the India, and also to make sure that because our Indian population is more into the urban sector, so to drive the rural people also, BharatNet is handled in PPP mode, which is private public partnership mode, for the level which they will play in the rural areas. So all these together initiatives which has been taken by the FM are to make sure that the infrastructure sector of Indian economy reaches a greater heights. Yeah.
Thank you, Komal. Moving on, Harsha, in terms of information and technology, what are your thoughts on that sector?
Yeah, Renat. So technology is on the prime focus, right? Because for the past 1 year, we have seen so many Sunicons, so many unicorns, so many techocons, and the government also realized it is the time for us to encourage the startups. There is no significant change, but one good initiative which the government has taken is they are going to establish a committee which will discuss with angel investors, venture capitalists, and all these people in the ecosystem, startup ecosystem, to understand what are all the regulatory challenges which are there for them to grow significantly further. So this committee is going to discuss and take suggestions from all the people in this ecosystem and then contribute further to it. That is one significant change. Number two, there are production linked incentives. There is customs duty related changes with respect to various sectors, especially in these areas, in green technology, in electricity vehicle technologies, I mean EV vehicles basically, and in drone technology. In all these upcoming digital areas or upcoming technical areas, government has announced specific schemes, and moreover, it is also ensured that global competition is not killing the local businesses. For example, if you take this Bluetooth manufacturing or the electronics manufacturing and all, mostly it is dominated by China today. So to restrict it, the government has taken a measure, taken a step to increase the customs duty on imports so that domestic manufacturers will get a level playing field. So that is one with respect to the technology which I can update. But there are many production linked incentives which are being announced for drone manufacturing, for deep technology, for electricity vehicle manufacturing, for green technology. For all these things, there are production linked incentive schemes. Yeah.
Okay, Komal, moving on, can you talk to us about cooperative societies?
Cooperative societies. Okay, so there have been a lot of changes for the taxation for the cooperative society. I mean, I would not say a lot of changes. It's just a surcharge change for cooperative societies, which has been given in this particular by the FM in the budget. So the cooperative society surcharge until not surcharge, AMT, that is nothing but the alternative minimum tax, was 18% across the companies and the cooperative societies, but now it has gone down to 15%. So even so that has happened, and that's the only change which relates to cooperative societies. Harsha, is there anything else that you would want to add on this?
No, Komal. For cooperative societies, tax rate, I mean surcharge reduction and reduction in the minimum alternate tax, because cooperative societies are becoming popular with the farmers coming together and then starting these societies. So they wanted to create a level playing field along with the corporates. So reduction in the surcharge is the only thing. But other than cooperative societies, these housing associations are there, right? For every gated community, there is an housing association. For them, the problem is excess income used to be taxed at a very higher rate. Excess income was being taxed at almost a 37% surcharge, along with the normal income tax of 30%. Plus, there used to be a 37% surcharge. Now, government has reduced it to 15% because it is for the benefit of the community which they have established. They wanted to reduce the tax rate alone over there, so they reduced it from maximum 37% surcharge to 15% surcharge. Income tax rate is going to remain same. Only surcharge reduction is there for housing associations or any other AOP bodies. We call them technically AOPs. Yeah. So mainly for housing associations.
Thank you, Harsh and Komal. So going back to sector, I think I skipped ahead and asked another question over there because it was right here in my list of questions. So I just decided to skip a little. But going back to our various sectors that we were covering, Komal, can you comment about education sector? What is this budget? How is this budget relevant for education sector?
Yeah. So, having a pandemic being hit and all the schools, were shut down, and there were a lot of people, a lot of children, especially from the rural areas, who were not able to, attend schools and get the primary and the secondary education. So the FM, very clever, very nice initiative, I must say, that she started off, concentrating the education for those children, and she came up with this 1 class 1 TV program, which is basically initiative to provide supplementary education also, that is also from class 1 to class 12. So the children can get say this is going to be one TV where it is going to have 12 to 200 TV channels. It is a part of the PM E-Vidya program. Yeah, it will be this will enable all the states to provide supplementary education in regional languages for classes 1 and 12. So this was one part of the initiative to make sure that the education is up and going in our country. And also there is also another program which the FM mentioned, was on the digital university. So a digital university they are planning to establish to provide the access to students across the country for world class quality standards, basically to have that, so that they have the enriched learning experiences at their doorsteps. A lot of visions have been are circling around this digital university. They are going to have in different languages and in ICT formats. So this we are also hoping that these actually work out, and education being one of the most important sector of our country is actually up and going.
Right, glad to hear that. Harsha, moving on from education, what are your comments about health sector?
So with respect to health, like last year, there is a budget which is allocated for vaccination drive, because vaccination has to continue again, right? There is a booster shot in place. So there is a budget which is allocated for vaccination. But for that, one significant important change which we can take into consideration is a unified digital health platform. This is under discussion for a long time, but they finally brought it. The idea of this platform is they will integrate every stakeholder who is associated with medical industry. Let it be a pharmacy, let it be a doctor, let it be a lab, let it be anything. They'll integrate all of this into the ecosystem. And even for the patients, basically for all of us, they'll provide a unique identification number, something similar to Aadhaar, or they might continue to use Aadhaar itself. They'll provide a digital identification number, which we can register on our platform. Now, every stakeholder in the healthcare sector will update our details in that platform. So what will happen is, even if I met some accident or something like that, if I go to hospital, the doctor has to just put in my number, he'll get my entire medical history. So it will become more transparent. I mean, the industry has such will become more transparent. Even with so much amount of data, government can predict pandemics kind of stuff. Government can predict, okay, what disease is going to come next. So many other benefits, and at the same point of time, so many other demerits of this portal too, because our health data is being made available to the government. And insurance companies can misutilize it. So many other demerits too, but this portal is being announced, and this will be effective from 22-23, which is like in next few months, it will be coming into the picture. So that is one significant reform in terms of health.
Yeah, that's an interesting little change that you're bringing on. Before I go into, I think we like to talk about other major changes, but before that, Komal, can you share a few thoughts about the banking sector?
Yes. So Renoy, there is a lot of a bubble going on around cryptocurrencies, and since the time the RBI has come with this thing. So now the FM, and we were all expecting that the FM is going to address this for a very, very long time. It was kept untouched, and now there's a digital rupee which she mentioned today in her speech, that a digital rupee is going to come by the Reserve Bank of India in 22-23, wherein this is going to be powered by the blockchain technology. So this is going to be like a kind of, there is not much being spoken about at this moment, but I understand that this blockchain technology is going to be very very, very good, because this is going to enable the transaction records. Whatever is going to happen, it cannot be changed at all, and it is going to be transparent, and it's going to be authentic. And so because of that, so this digital rupee, so this fact which has factored in this particular budget is really interesting to have note that. And also because there's to just make sure that this economy becomes even more digital. The thrive of having a digital economy from the FM has been happening from a few years from now, but So she's also again stepped in and given another initiative of having 75 digital banking units across the 75 districts in India, and it is going to be like just to pave on the digital economy. It is going to be by the scheduled commercial banks. So this is one of the thing which she had mentioned in the budget today. Also, the post office accounts. So until now, the post office accounts were more into the rural areas, but now she mentioned today that she's going the Indian government is going to enable the CBS in the post office accounts also, and she's concentrating in more than 1.5 lakh branches across Indian rural areas. So we are hoping that we will all again move on into another digital economy.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Ko. Harsha, we've covered various sectors so far. So I just want to get your thoughts. Are there any other significant changes that are relevant to our discussion?
Yeah, Renai. So like Komal said, like digitization was the primary agenda of the government. So one major change which we can take note of is there are many of our customers or even the MSME entrepreneurs who are actually applying for the government tenders, right? Now today, tendering process is very transparent. The reason is we will upload all the tenders online and it goes across 3 to 4 stages depending on the type of tender, and very transparent. Though there are like internal management which can be done, but still tendering process has become very, very transparent these days. In the same lines, government has put its a step forward to make the bill processing also even more transparent today. One of the major problem for the people who are undertaking the government tenders is receiving the payments from the government. They'll complete the work, they will raise an invoice, but they don't even know what is the status of that invoice inside the government office, whether collector approved it, whether sub-registrar approved it, whether the respective officer approved it or not, nobody is aware of. So to bridge that gap, government is saying they will build a portal where for all government tenders, we will actually provide a portal where invoice can be raised on the portal along with our digital signature. We can track the status on a real-time basis. So it will improve the transparency and we can get the payments as much early as possible. So that is, we'll get to know where it is stuck exactly. So it will help us to expedite the process. That is one major change in terms of government tenders, which we can take note of. Then other than that, government is in commitment for Atmanirbhar Bharat, where they want to reduce imports, especially in the defense sector. Last year, they kept a target of 50%. So out of the Indian defense budget, they wanted to spend 50% of the defense budget only within India, which means defense procurement budget. They procure a lot of arms and all, right? 50% of those arms were procured from India last year. This year, they have increased that target to 68%. So any company or any MSME which is working on defense related stuff or which is supplying something for DRDO, it is a great news for them because they'll have even more significant opportunity than last year. The other focus of the government has been on ease of doing business as well as ease of living. Ease of doing business, they have removed certain laws which are which are very old in nature. There is no use of it. 1,200 laws have been removed over a period of last year. This can be noted as an achievement of the government. And other than that, for ensuring that the cities are being not crowded too much without proper infrastructure, they are investing a lot on cities, especially through this infrastructure development program, which Komal was mentioning. They are trying to invest a lot amount of money onto the cities as well to develop proper infrastructure over there. These are some other noteworthy changes which we can take note of before moving into the taxation.
Great. And before we move into taxations, I would like to get your thoughts on another area. So between you and me, we sat down and analyzed, I think, 2 budgets so far, 2020, 2021. So moving into 2022, what I would like to talk about is that one of the main points that we discussed during the last 2 budget was that last budget, especially, we were focused on the pandemic 2021. There were certain factors that involved we wanted certain provisions, we wanted certain relief measures. And of course, and we go back to 2020 also. Between all this too, right? What do you think is the biggest change that has come about? Positive, and I would say, what would you say is the biggest negative? Let's look at both sides, positive and negative.
The major positive change which I can think of is increase in the capital expenditure. Government is borrowing a lot. But the good thing is they are spending it on capital assets. So they are building the assets or infrastructure over here. That is a significant change, because this time also they have projected to spend 7 lakh crore on the capital assets. Most of the state governments, they are borrowing it and then spending it on the welfare schemes, which doesn't yield anything in the long term for the economy. But central government, one good thing which they are doing is they are borrowing the money, but they are investing into the capital assets. That was there even in the last year. That is there even on the current year as well. One bad thing is every recession or every anything, I mean, this kind of a recession, pandemic kind of a recession, will provide one-time opportunity for the government to do structural changes in the economy. But I don't think finance minister has taken that risk of doing the structural changes in the economy after, like, demonetization. Maybe, I mean, whether it was a success or a failure, we can keep it aside, but there is no bold step from the government again. One bold step was with respect to the farm laws. That was also backfired, and then they stopped doing that reform altogether in the agriculture. So now there is no structural reform as such. Everywhere they are implementing the same thing, maybe with a little bit increase in the budget or a little bit reduction in the budget. But for that, there is no significant structural change completely which is being taken up by the government. This could have been a one-time opportunity for them because of the pandemic. This could have been a one-time opportunity, but I don't think finance minister has taken huge risk even for the last budget or even in the current budget too. She kept following the existing trend.
Okay. To follow up, we have a question from one of our viewers. Manjunath D has asked, hi speakers, any update on the wage code in this budget, or are there any changes to keep existing laws in line with wage code?
Yeah, so government is planning to merge 3 or 4 portals which are there for the labor. There is no update on the labor code. I mean, there is no, they haven't announced any cutoff date. Ideally, the cutoff date was 1st of April 2022. But however, in the budget, they haven't announced anything about the labor code. But one change which they have announced is, there are many portals. One is MSME registration portal. There is one Shram Suvidha portal. There are like 3 to 4 different portals for various benefits under labor law. They are planning to merge all of them into one. That is one thing. Then second, there are many state level labor registrations which we need to take. For example, professional tax, shops act, etc. Now central government is proposing they will negotiate with the state governments and make it into a digital registration, because there is so much of offline process involved today. They wanted to change it. They'll negotiate with various state governments. They'll bring it into digital form. But for that, no update on the no update as such on the labor code. 3 labor codes which were proposed. No update as of now.
Okay. Hope that has answered your query, Mr. Manjunath. Okay, moving on. Komal, we have another question from the audience. It's Mr. Ronak Bafna has asked, what are the major things a middle class person should take back from this budget?
Honestly, I was a little disappointed when I saw this question, because even I was also thinking that what is it for that I can take back again from this for my personal thing. So Ronak, I must say that there are not much, like usually we're all as individuals, we see that, if there is any change in the individual tax rates, no, there is no individual tax rate change. And there is no, change in the normal, if a person who's just, having, say, about a salary income or about just a normal business income, then there are not much of their, I must say the budget disappointed us in that way. But yeah, there are some certain tweaks with regard to the fact that, in NPS, that is the National Pension Scheme, now the employers is going to, get a reduction of, earlier this was 10%, now we get a 14% reduction. So there are, if you are into long-term capital gains, this is for the high net worth individuals especially, and that, in case if you are getting a, say, LTCG, that is long-term capital gains on any assets, until now we had, there is a surcharge cap of 15%. So until now we used to come under the bracket of 37% also, in case if your, turnover was more than, say, 2 crore. But now you have a turnover cap of only 15%. So you end up paying a surcharge of 15% only for the LTCP, that is it. And other than that, I don't see much of, what is it called, a boom for, middle class people. Harsha, do you want to add?
I would like to add a point more there. Raunak, actually, you asked a very specific question, very, very true. Everybody expects from this session the same thing. But I'll say you, for this time, like Komal mentioned, there are no significant changes. But I can say you one thing: all these infrastructural projects which government is taking up, for example, they are planning to have 400 trains, additional trains in the coming year. Then they are planning to have e-passport, where we are standing in queue for international travel, right? For checking our passport and then processing our visas and all. E-passport will help us to reduce that queue lines. So in this way, there are certain benefits, and then even health identity will actually benefit you. But direct tax reduction was not there in this budget, even though the tax reduction is present. Like she said, on the LTCG, tax reduction is present, but that is applicable or that is beneficial only for the people who are making more than 2 crores. Whoever is earning more than 2 crores, for them that will make a difference. But for a normal middle class person, I don't think there is any direct change which will impact them, except in the form of these startup related benefits or infrastructure related benefits.
Thank you, Harsha and Komal. So Ronak has said thank you so much. And moving on, we have a question from Mr. Rajiv. It's not very clear, but I'll address it anyway. He's running a sole proprietorship that focus on digital marketing, and it's registered a year ago with MSME and have GST as well. So his turnover is around 7 lakhs, and he's asking, is there any takeaway for me this budget? I have asked him, are you referring specifically to your business? I'm still waiting for a response. But now, having said that, I just like to get your thoughts. Is there something that we can answer to his question?
Okay, for you, one thing, government has announced the credits. A credit-linked incentive scheme, or like a MSME credit has been, a scheme has been announced. I mean, during the pandemic, there was a scheme where they were giving the credit for the people who are running the small businesses. If they had a credit limit of, let's say, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, or 1 crore, government increased the credit limit by default to 1.5 crore, 1.6 crore, depending on the industry you are in, they have increased it. So in that benefit, I mean, if you have any credit in your business, of course, he's saying 7 lakh of turnover. I'm not sure whether he'll have credit. 7 lakhs is per month or per annum. He might not have got that credit, but that credit is one thing which you can avail. Excessive credit limit is one thing which you can avail. And being an MSME, whenever you take a bank loan or something, you'll have 1% reduction in the interest rate. That is one benefit which was there previously. It will continue to exist even going forward as well. Other than that, I'm not sure what kind of digital marketing it is. But if it is a digital marketing which is innovative or which is very new to the country, which nobody else has done, or you are coming up with a new concept in terms of marketing, then you can get registration done under Startup India and avail various benefits under Startup India too. That will be the specific benefits for him. Specific to this budget, except that credit, I don't think any other significant changes were there for him.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Rajiv has said thanks, Harsha. Okay, moving on. So Komal and Harsha, we have discussed the various sectors over here. Now moving on, Komal, can you give us your thoughts about income tax related changes?
Yeah, Renoy, thank you. So, like I said, I told already that there are not much of direct taxes concerning the the middle class people or anything, but still there are certain changes which the FM has mentioned today. One being the updated return concept. So earlier, until now, we used to have an option of filing a belated return or a revised return until now. So for example, if I'm filing the return for this year, I have an option that is ongoing financial year, that is 21-22. Though these benefits are only for 22-23, that is, this entire budget is going to have its impact only from the financial year 22-23. But just for an example's sake, if I'm just taking, say if I'm having a return to be filed, so I file return by September 22. For the last year, and I have an option of filing a revise. If I miss that deadline, I file an belated return or a revised return by December. So and now just to reduce the compliances burden, and also for the fact that litigations or because when we have to wait when the income tax department comes with a notice, and then only we can respond it, because the portal gives you an option only to revise the return for the last year, not the previous 2 years. So but if I have missed something which I have which in my return, so I have an option now to go for an updated return, wherein I will be allowed to disclose any other more income which I was supposed to do it, and I can do it from the 2 years, within 2 years from the relevant assessment year. So that means by the next year, So for example, if this is for the assessment year 21-22, then I can do it for the next 2 years. It is till 24, I will be able to do my updated return. So this happens for this is the one new thing which FM has mentioned in this particular budget, and also I will and this entire scheme is not for to reducing my any losses or reducing my tax liability. It is only for as anything which I have to disclose income. I can take forward this particular step. Also, I will have to pay additional tax. That would be 25% of so whatever tax I am I am supposed to pay it. I'll have to pay another 25% of it within that first year, and 50% within the next year. That is the 2 years. It's breaking into first year being 25%, the next year being 50%. So I have to pay that additional tax and then file my return. Consequential amendments has also been made in my like the payment of taxes, that I cannot file a return without without paying it taxes, and my advance tax and my all the levy which goes if I'm not paying my advance tax also is consequentially amended, that it has to be included. All the tax interest will be included in that. Harsha, would you like to post anything on this?
Yeah, so this any tax change which is brought in this budget is not for making it beneficial. Beneficial tax provisions are only two. One for this housing societies, which we call generally as AOPs, and the other one is for cooperative societies. But for that, all the tax provisions are just for keeping a stop on the tax evasion, controlling the tax evasion, or for making the provisions even more stringent to ensure that the people are like disclosing their undisclosed income. So one provision which Komal said, if you have missed disclosing some income this year, you have been provided an opportunity to disclose it in the next 2 years. If you have missed this year, you can disclose it in the next 2 years, but you have to pay 25% additional tax. If you are disclosing it within 1 year, you have to pay 50% additional tax if you are disclosing it within 2 years. That was the Komal's comment. So at least it will help us in reducing the litigations with the tax department. Another change which they have brought is, there used to be multiple cases before High Court, before Supreme Court for the same provision. Let's say there was a case about health and education cess. There was a case about health and education cess, whether it can be allowed as a deduction or not. And not just one person or two persons, at least this case was filed by 20 to 30 people, and all 20-30 cases were investigated separately by High Court and Supreme Court. To avoid this problem, now what they brought as a provision over here is, whenever an order has been passed by the assessing officer for some provision, if there is any question which is pending before the Supreme Court for that matter, for example, my officer is saying, you purchased a mobile, this expense is not allowed. Now, if the same question is there in some other case before a court, I mean, if it is pending before a court, then in that case, now department is saying, you need not go for the appeal immediately. You can wait for that particular court case to get cleared, even though it is not your case, even though it is filed by somebody else, and if it is being fighted by somebody else, you can wait for the judgment from that case, and then you can take an action upon this particular order. So that is one provision. I mean, to reduce the litigation or number of cases in the court, this is one good amendment. Very, very specifically, I think people will be interested to know about crypto taxation, crypto investments. The reason is, everybody is investing into Bitcoins, or everybody is investing into Doge coins, or even the coins which we cannot even pronounce. And everybody is investing into NFTs, NFT kind of tokens and all. Yeah. There is a wide range confusion. Even if two chartered accountants are sitting together and then talking about this crypto taxation, each one of them will give a different view about its taxation altogether. Now they wanted to regulate crypto industry. This is just a starting point. Even with this budget, even the provisions which are brought in for the crypto purpose, even this budget is not at all sufficient for regulating the crypto economy or digital economy or virtual economy. This is just a start. They have not even touched the real problems in this crypto industry. I'll tell you what changes have been brought with respect to crypto. One significant change is, earlier, let's say I have invested in some 10,000 rupees on cryptocurrency. Now, when I sold that money, when I sold that Bitcoins or whatever is that currency, I made some 25,000 rupees. Now, the biggest question here was, where should I disclose this income in my income tax return? Some professionals argue you should disclose it in the business income. Some professionals argue you should disclose it in the other income. Some professionals argue you should disclose it in the capital gain. So there were different arguments because tax rates will differ accordingly. I mean, wherever you, depending on the place you disclose, tax rate will significantly change. Now government brought a clarity. Don't get confused at all. Directly pay 30% tax. Whatever the gain which you are making, pay 30% tax directly. So I invested 10,000 rupees. I made it 25,000 rupees. So on the 15,000 rupees gain, I need to make direct payment of 30% tax, no deduction. I cannot invest in LIC. I cannot take my child education expenses, nothing, no deduction, no allowance, directly pay 30% tax. This is one significant provision. Then the second one which they have, second one is TDS. This is again a confusion. Actually, government is saying the person who is purchasing the cryptocurrency, whenever he is buying, if he is buying for more than 50,000 rupees, 50, if he is buying for more than 50,000 rupees, he has to deduct 1% TDS while making the payment. For example, let's say, Renoy, I am purchasing 50,000 rupees cryptocurrency from you. Then while paying the money to you, I should not pay 50,000. I should pay only 49,000 rupees to you. I should deduct that 1,000 rupees, take your PAN card and file my TDS return. This is so unreasonable provision in this digital economy. The reason being, I'm trading on Vakilsearch platform, or I'm trading on some platform, some cryptocurrency platform. I don't even know who the buyer is. I don't even know to whom I will be making this particular monetary payment. And moreover, I'm an individual. I don't know how to file TDS returns. I don't have TAN number. Nothing is there with me. I'm a normal individual investing into the crypto. Now, whenever I'm buying for more than 50,000, this provision will actually place additional burden on me. So I have to deduct 1% TDS. We need to wait for even more better clarity, because this provision specifically states any future, any practical implementation difficulties will be addressed later. Subsequently, it will be addressed. This is one change with respect to crypto. Then third, for crypto investments, because everybody is expecting clarity on the crypto law for a long time, these points will actually enrich them or like enlighten them. Like, okay, these are the changes with respect to crypto. The third change is, whenever you are investing in crypto, even if you incur some loss, that loss cannot be adjusted against any of your profit. For example, let's say, usually whenever there is a loss in anything, I can adjust that loss. I made a business. I was running a business. I made 1 crore rupees profit, but I invested in crypto. I made 20,000 or like 20 lakh rupees loss. I cannot claim that loss against this income. I have to pay tax on this income separately. I have to adjust that loss against crypto income only. Crypto loss cannot be claimed in income tax. So that is what one provision. Indirectly, government is trying to discourage the crypto investments. However, one good thing is, since people are very much fascinated about investing into cryptocurrencies, government also came up with one crypto which Komal was mentioning, digital rupee. So digital rupee is also falling into the same category. So maybe for digital rupee alone, they might provide some concessions, but in this budget, there is nothing. Digital rupee is also almost equivalent to Bitcoin as of today, based on current provisions. Maybe if you deal in digital rupee, subsequently, we might expect some more benefits. So this is about crypto. Komal, you want to add any other point in respect to income tax?
Yeah. So there are certain small tweaks which has also happened in the income tax law, which the FM today morning she mentioned. One being, there was a lot of tax what is it called, litigations happening around the fact that whether the cess, the education cess of 4%, which has been charged, after, so we charge income tax and then we have surcharge in case if your turnover is increasing, or sorry, the income is increasing to a certain level, and then you have cess to be charged at the rate of 4%. There were many tax the payers who would, because the law only mentioned that only any income tax which is payable is not a deductible expenditure, but there were also certain things that on relating to cess. So what people, the taxpayers do, they used to disallow the income tax but claim the cess as a part of a deductible expenditure. So now just retrospective amendment has been made in the law, clarifying the fact that now the cess and surcharge will be also disallowed for the income tax purposes. So there was this one clarification which was made. There was another on the ATIAC, which basically all the new manufacturing concerns, which are paying tax at a reduced tax rate of 22%. And now they, so until now, only till 31st March 22 was given. Since this was the last year for that, claiming 3 years out of the 10 consecutive years, the income tax payers can now claim deduction of 100% profits and gains of the 3 years out of the 10 years given. Now it has been extended to the next another year also, which is 2024. So that has been made a small tweak, which we all were actually expecting that it will actually happen, just to make sure that the startups gain their sector-wise also governance. Then there were also hello.
Go ahead, Komal.
Then there was also one small tweak in regard to the medical insurance, which was paid for people who are under disabled persons. So in case if a parent or a guardian who used to take any annuity insurance payment, insurance on that particular disabled person. So until now there was this provision that that particular and lump sum payment was available, and the deduction was available only when the parent or the guardian used to at the event of the death, the deduction was available. But now the deduction is available, seeking the fact that there are many times that the disabled person needs the money for his life. So now the FM has mentioned that it will be taken for the benefit during the parent's lifetime, which will be close to about 60 years. So once the parent is crosses 60 years, you can take a deduction of the entire lump sum payment which the insurance company gives on that particular disabled person. So these are the small tweaks. Also, Harsha, would you like to mention anything other than this?
Before that, Harsha, there is one question the audience, since you were talking about cryptocurrency, one person has mentioned. It's a very broad question. What he's asked is, which sector can we keep an eye on from an investor standpoint?
One thing, all these days there was a confusion whether crypto will be accepted by the government in the long term or not. Now I'm not recommending to invest in crypto, but one thing, crypto investment is not illegal. So that is what one conclusion which we can draw out of this. Second, before the budget and after the budget, the sectors where we can invest almost going to remain the same. The reason being, one is electricity vehicles, one is green tech companies, and the other one is neo-banking companies. Not the traditional banks, but the neo-banking companies, because neo-banking companies are being encouraged by the government. So such investments we can focus on. And drone manufacturing, it had a lot of restrictions. Now this time they are going to reduce the restrictions on drone manufacturing, and they're going to permit usage of drone in the agriculture sector. They're going to permit usage of drone in the traffic monitoring and then city administration kind of stuff. They're going to permit the drone usage in the defense as well. So drone manufacturing had a lot of restrictions earlier, but now they have been relaxed significantly. So these areas you can focus on investment, not specific stock. We cannot recommend any specific stock, but these are the verticals which we can broadly focus upon.
Harsha, to add, earlier there was a confusion as in where, how we categorize cryptocurrency or income earned from cryptocurrency when we're filing our taxes, right? So which category does it fall under? Is it capital gain tax?
I think it will fall under other income now, because it is going to be taxed at 30%. Head, I am not sure, but 30% is the tax. We need to see the section number, because to get the section number, we need to read the complete budget documents, which will be out very soon. Because based on the section number, we can identify whether it falls under other income or capital gain. But 30% tax rate is for sure.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think it's time to move on to GST and customs, or is there any other point you'd like to add about taxes?
In income tax, actually, one point, COVID-related medical expenditure, because many employees or many people have incurred COVID-related medical expenditure. Either it has been reimbursed by the insurance company, or it has been reimbursed sometimes by our employers. Whenever you are an employee of a large organization, many companies have reimbursed the COVID-related expenditure for even the family as well, including for the families of those employees, they have reimbursed. Now, government said, whatever the reimbursement which you have received from your employer or even from the insurance company, it is tax exempt up to 10 lakhs. If you have received actual reimbursement of medical expenditure incurred with respect to COVID, up to 10 lakhs, it is exempt. So that is one change. But for that, I think Komal has covered most of the stuff in income tax. We can move on to the GST and customs. Having one disclaimer alone, there are a lot of changes with respect to TDS and TCS, and there are a lot of changes with respect to the SEZ law, and there are a lot of changes with respect to the gift city provisions, the Gujarat-based gift city provisions. All these changes are yet to be released by the government. I mean, the detailed budget document should be released, which by this time it should have been out mostly. Once we read them, once we completely analyze, our team of experts internally will summarize it. We will circulate it to all the people over here. We'll beautifully summarize in such a way that common man can understand, and we'll circulate it. And other than that, we are also going to organize one detailed webinar along with CII on 5th of February. That is the finalized date. Rana, you can correct me if I'm not wrong. If I'm wrong, on 5th of February, we are going to organize a webinar along with the CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, where we will discuss MSME specific impact, because now we are analyzing the budget speech or the budget memorandum, which is released just immediately. But by 5th of February, we'll have much clarity on all these provisions, and we'll have much more details. What are all the restrictive provisions which are announced by the government as well? So on 5th of February, we'll have this webinar along with the CII. So we can have people who are interested in getting to know more provisions with respect to TDS and more MSME related provisions can attend that webinar too. We can move on to GST.
Perfect. So Harsha, moving on, what are the changes in terms of for GST and customs with this budget?
Yeah, GST, one good news which Finance Minister announced is they were able to collect 1.4 lakh crore of revenue in the last year. I don't know whether it is a good news for her or us, but 1.4 lakh crore
this has been the highest
revenue was collected, which is the highest. Correct. Since the inception of GST, this has been the highest ever highest ever tax which has been collected. But we have one question over there: how much is the breakup for late fees and interest? So that she doesn't provide that breakup. But anyway, 1.4 lakh crore has been the income. That is the only announcement with respect to GST. The reason is any change in GST has to be done within the approval of state level finance ministers through the GST council meeting. So there are no significant changes in GST which are announced through budget. Second, with respect to customs, they have rationalized. I was telling somewhere in the beginning of this webinar as well, right? Government wanted to create level playing field for the people. For example, one example can be umbrellas. People in India can manufacture umbrellas, but the problem today is Chinese umbrellas or foreign country umbrellas are coming and being dumped into India. Are people who are manufacturing domestically, they are not able to compete with them. So to avoid it, what government did is they have identified various sectors. For example, imitation gold jewelry, umbrellas, batteries and electronic spare parts. So many things which can be manufactured in India as well. Their customs duty is being increased. Whenever you are importing from the abroad, customs duty is being increased so that people will go and buy the local products itself. That is one major change, but there is a huge list of products. On what are all the products customs duty has been increased, there is a huge list. Number two, for some sectors, for example, construction industry is badly stuck and steel imports had a high amount of customs duty to generate enough amount of supply from the construction industry as well to reduce their input costs. Government said we are reducing the customs duty on the steel, iron and steel, because to create the level playing field, I mean, to match the demand and supply, because Indian domestic players are not able to supply that much amount of steel, and then quality and everything matters, right? So import of steel is the customs duty is being reduced. So net summary, what I can say is certain customs duty has been increased. On certain items, customs duty has been reduced, just to ensure Atmanirbhar Bharat is taken care of. At the same time, no industry is stuck or no industry is facing difficulties because of lack of raw materials. That is how I can summarize the customs changes.
So Harsha, Komal, I'd like to take this moment to thank you for your time and for your analysis. To our audience, we conduct these sessions regularly. The name is RealTime with Experts, and we talk about a bunch of different topics, all related to finance, secretarial, and compliance. So you can look forward to various more, furthermore webinars on the way. Having said that, let's time to wind up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.